Why did you buy this?
It was on sale.
Action News Network is an Aboriginal American media network. As such, we are protected under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, or DRIP, Articles 8, 14, and 16. Action News Network is allowed to provide Aboriginal news and media content on non-Indigenous media platforms free of oppressive censorship. Any breach of this protection is a breach of international law.
What up, y'all? It's Action Jack, bringing you some more of this American Aboriginal spirit. Today we talk about the Gullah Geechee people. This is a recognized nation. They're recognized by both the United States government and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. All right, and that's because with their official narrative is that they're a mix of African slaves and that Aboriginal people who were in that area, which probably is, to a certain extent true, like most groups. The small, maybe 250,000 Africans who was brought here did mix in with the tribes that were here. You know what I'm saying? So there's truth to that story, but it's exaggerated, and that's what a lot of history is. It's a lot of exaggeration with a little bit of truth to it. But these are Aboriginals here in America, and they've been doing the same things for probably thousands of years and shit here. All right, they exist in the Carolina Low Country, both in North and South Carolina, the Outer Banks Islands, the Carolina Sea Islands. So let's get into this and let's see what the deal is.
All right, I was going to start this off by doing the general consensus story from Wikipedia. And, as you can see, it's going to say the Gullah African Americans, who live in the Low Country region of the U.S. states of Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, both coastal plain and sea islands. They developed the Creole language, the Gullah language, and a rich and African influence and make them distinct amongst African Americans. They briefly go into, how it says historically the Gullah region extended from Cape Fear, North Carolina's coast, south of Jacksonville, Florida coast today. Today, the Gullah area is confined to Georgia and South Carolina Low Country. The Gullah people in their language also called Geechee, which may be derived from the name of the Ogeechee River near Savannah, Georgia. Now, this is a problem I always have. All right, they try to say that Geechee and the word Gullah, whatever, comes from like Africa and shit like that. But and they'll do this later on in this narrative, and you can check it out online yourself. But they say it could be derived from the Ogeechee River. Now, if they was Africans here and they saved their culture and their languages and they know where they're from, at least with tribes and shit, why would they name the place after a river that they probably wasn't even told what the name of that river is? It's the same thing with Haiti. If all these Africans came together and got rid of their slave masters, kicked them off the island, why would they not name it an African name or something like that, or something that represents them being from Africa? Why would they name it the name of the island prior to the Europeans being there? Something that wasn't probably even taught to them, especially since most of the Tainos were supposedly killed off the island, right? Or at least most of them stayed on the Spanish side of the island, because a lot of Dominicans claim that they're Taino, right? So, instead I chose to come to their official website, which I'll leave a link to. So, Gullah Geechee Nation. This is a part of their dialect. This year, who we be. It's almost a mixture of like the patois you'd find on the islands. Primarily, it's very close to. It's like a mixture of what we would know as African American vernacular English mixed with the patois you would find like in the Bahamas. So it says the Gullah Geechees came together to declare themselves as a nation on July 2, 2000 with international observers and media present. The Gullah Geechee Nation from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. Jackson. It encompasses all of the sea islands and 30 to 35 miles inland to the St. Johns River. On these islands, people from numerous African ethnic groups linked with indigenous Americans and create the unique Gullah language and traditions which come from Geechee. The Gullah Geechee people have considered a nation within a nation from the time of chattel enslavement in the United States until they officially became internationally recognized on July 2, 2000. At the time of the Declaration of Nation, they've confirmed the election of their first head pundit body, very similar to Botswana Island, head of state, an official spokesperson, and Queen Mother. They elected Queen. Now I don't know if it's Quet or Queen K, chiefess and head of state of the Gullah Geechee Nation. You can kind of see where their nation extends from. It's a pretty extensive land. My family has history in this land area. And here's Queen Quet or Queen K or Quay. I don't know if the T is silent like in French and Spanish and shit. But she is the first elected chiefess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation. And here's where they could be reached at. You can screenshot that if you want to find out more information about them. It's right here. They are located in St. Helena Island, South Carolina. Not too far from where I'm at. Now, their mission to preserve, protect, and promote our history, culture, language, and homeland, and to institute and demand official recognition of governance, minority, which you shouldn't use, rights necessary to accomplish our mission to take care of our community through collective efforts, which will provide a healthy environment, care for the well-being of each person, and economic empowerment. Their goals, as we are the authentic original Gullah Geechee Nation, so the authentic and original. Then they see, that's why I like reading off of their website, because they're careful what they use. It will go into this with direct linkage to our ancestral history legacy. We stand as custodians of the Gullah Geechee culture and protectors of our human rights, henceforth being the only and true keepers of Gullah Geechee cultural legacy upon us, for us the responsibility to promote in an accurate and positive manner all aspects of Gullah Geechee culture by emanating knowledge and healing souls. The process is guided through release of the full story of the four parents of Gullah and Geechee ancestral souls and the wisdom of our elders. As we we will link with organizations, other nations, and institutions that are contributing positively to the cultivation of our nation, ensuring that those connections are carried out with dignity and honor. In the tradition of our foreparents, we will record and written from our story as a living testament to our Gullah Geechee legacy. We will broaden our continuum through the use of electronic and video audio means of documentation. Through the exercise of human rights, we will be keepers of this material, accept the responsibilities of defining ourselves and our ancestors. We will preserve, maintain, and reclaim all elements of our homeland, which will forever be our base of existence as we carry out these goals. With these goals in mind, Gullah Geechee people take formal recognition of their nation and the human right to self-determination within the context of their minority governance rights, and thereby the Gullah Geechee Nation Wisdom Circle Council with elders by its hands, spirit, and soul undertakes the task of creating and ratifying the first constitution of the Gullah Geechee Nation. Alright, so they're a full nation, alright? And I have roots in this area, so I'm gonna be real careful with what I say and stuff like that. But for them, they're recognized as an Indian tribe, and I'm gonna show you that you can look them up online, and put in Gullah Indian, Geechee Indian, and it doesn't correct you. It sends you to them, so they're recognized as Indians. All right, and these are the little games that you gotta pay attention to. But like I say all the time, these tribes, like the Mongol tribes who have all the casinos and stuff, the mixed race mulatto tribes that have the casinos and stuff, and they all have to keep the narrative of the story. They have to keep the BS of them having African ancestry, and them having a nation keeps exclusivity. Not everybody can claim to be from that certain area of the South. All right, so they're one out of only very few black tribes Indian tribes that are, that are recognized. Even when I showed you about um, the Shinnecock in New York, in my neck of the woods where I'm from, they consider people like ODB to be African slaves, and this is what they always say when it comes to these black tribes, that the black people there or not the Aboriginals, that they're the Africans, and then that the lighter skinned mixed race people are the Aboriginals, which goes against everything science and teaches us, or not really science or anthropology and shit teaches us. Okay, so I was going through some of their comments and stuff on their site, and they do a very good job of replying. I must say that they almost reply to almost every of the 800 and something comments that are here, for the most part. So I just want to show you that a lot of black people know that they're Indians and stuff like that, and how they don't really correct them and shit, but they still push a narrative that most of they have African in them. And I would like to see the Geechee, who are probably considered all Indian. Do they have a lot of mixed race there or whatever? But anyway, this is from Robin King, and it says, my Uncle Riverly remembers meeting his grandfather in the 1950s, who was introduced as being from the Gullah Indian tribe. See, in the 1950s, they was called the Gullah Indian. Okay? And this woman is putting that down there. So, and no one in his family has ever met this side of the family, because besides him, he has no idea what the family name is. Grandmother's from North Carolina with the surname of Masingo, which is like almost would be a Atlantic Creole name, because it's kind of Spanish Portuguese kind of. Could you possibly suggest where to begin our search? For more information, any help is greatly appreciated. The Gullah Geechee Nation responds, peace. Start with your oldest family member that you can find. See the person, knows the town and the county where your uncle is from. Also make sure your last name is in Manigault, which is kind of a French spelling of that, which is often pronounced the way you wrote it. There are many Manigolds from South Carolina in the Gullah Geechee Nation. We pray that you find an accurate link. Very useful site too, especially if your family's from the low country area of the Carolinas, Georgia, and like the Jacksonville area, the swampy coastal areas of the southeast. All right. Brenda L. Watson says, my great grandmother's last name was Simmons. She was born in Florida. She was a black Seminole. My grandmother on my father's side, last name was Ansley. Are their Gullah names? Those Gullah names. I do have two cousins whom I've not met that are on my family tree through ancestry. DNA goes to South Carolina Geechee, which means I think South Carolina Geechee. My family is also from Alabama. Ancestors from South Carolina. I'm part African and American. Indian ancestry or black Seminoles Gullah people. See, a lot of, and this is what pisses me off, because you have that black skin, you always got to put that African in it. It's only because of that, and because in school you're taught that you came from Africa as a slave, but then you know that you're also part Indian and black Seminole and all of this, and they say peace. Yes, black Seminoles are Gullah Geechee. Please go to there, go to the link right there and type in Gullah Geechee Seminole. All right, and do so and Google and see what happens. All right, from B Bright. I have been curious about the Geechee Nation for many years. I must admit, Gullah is a new term for me. This is wonderful information. My maternal great-grandfather was born into slavery in Virginia in the 1840s with the last name Raleigh, but took on the last name Brown after new slave ownership. Unsure if the new slave owners also lived in Virginia. His family, unsure if it was his mother, father, or both, were originally brought to America from West Africa, Guinea region. All right. Again, we know that some blacks were brought here from West Africa. I would love to see, I wish I could talk to this brother, sister, or whatever, and if they would be willing to at least let me know how they know exactly that they're from the Guinea region of West Africa. I guess this is probably from the stupid 23andMe test, because they'll do your ancestry and shit with your ancestor line, and then try to link it to West Africa. So they probably telling them that they're from there. But I'm not going to debate what someone says their family's from. That I'm not going to get into. My maternal great-grandmother was born in Mississippi. Her father was from Virginia. Her mother was from Missouri, unsure of the original place of birth country. However, I was told by my mother that the daughter, Adelina, my mom's mother, was Geechee. So now I'm confused. It is more likely that she was referred to Geechee because of her father was from Guinea, and not because, as I always believe, she had roots in the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia area. I look forward to visiting Georgia and the Carolinas very soon. Thank you for what you do. And again, Gullah Geechee responds, Peace Brenda, your theory could be correct. However, it's very likely she was calling her Geechee because of her character traits without having knowledge of the ethnicity. Many people did this with people from the South. In any case, Geechee, and there's Geechee in Mississippi that ended up here through the forced migration from our coast to the deep South just before the Civil War. And we see a lot of this shit going on. So this is the last one. Like I said, if you put Geechee Indian into Google, you know, it comes up Gullah Indian or whatever. Same thing with Gullah Geechee Indian. It comes up Gullah Geechee people. It's always basically the same thing. And you get the same pictures of Queen Ket or Quay. I don't want to butcher your name, sweetheart. And praise to the Queen. But like I said, for them to be recognized, they have to keep that narrative, all right? And they still give you the history of that. And if you can prove yourself to this, you'll get them status. And whatever tourist money they probably get, because they get a lot of tourists down there, they probably have resorts and shit too on them islands, and that's probably how they're making their money. I wouldn't be surprised if very soon they start talking about casinos down here, which will make a lot of money and stuff. And being on the waterfront, that would be really great for them and a real great money maker. So I would suggest to look into that. But yeah, they get that tax free and stuff, and it's probably very easy to open businesses in that area and stuff. So if you have family in that area, I would check them out and see how you get signed up with that, because it's probably the easiest. And like I said, not everybody who's black from the South, you know, has ties to the Low Country. Okay, my family, I trace the lineage back to the Yamasee, Gullah Geechee, Ogeechee Indian, right? So that's from South Carolina and Georgia and shit. So despite my thick New York accent, you know, but so not everybody. So if you're like, you know, Chickasaw or, you know, Shawnee or some other shit, you know, from Alabama or Missouri, you're not going to be able to get into Gullah Geechee. All right, but if you are from these areas, you know, this is your best bet and probably the easiest to get into. They probably do. I'm pretty sure they don't have this as great the deals as the Mongols or the mixed race tribes get. But these guys are considered Indians, even though, and it's quietly kept. And their traditions and their story is very similar to the Garifuna, which I'm gonna do soon. And Darkman X just went into this not too long ago. Check his videos out. He does an excellent report on the Garifuna. But again, you know, because a lot of these Gullah Geechee have roots in the Caribbean too, you know what I'm saying? But they've been traveling back and forth anyway, because the Seminole are related to the Caribs, and you know, and the Yamasee is related to the Seminoles and the Caribs too, and they all been going back and forth from these islands and stuff. All right, it didn't take the Europeans to come here and start moving everybody around like they want you to seem. People were just living on these islands for thousands of years and never moved around anywhere and shit. They went back and forth. That's why it's the same language on the coast of the Carolinas down to Florida as it is across, you know, the water and Barbados and shit. And this is the way everybody has been speaking forever. So, you know, very interesting. Like I said, there used to be a stigma to being called Geechee. In New York, you know, if you like the rice, if you're black and you like the rice and stuff like that, a lot of people will call you a Geechee and stuff like that. And, you know, I even heard prior to that because of the patois that they spoke, or the Creole as they would call it, it was like uneducated, you know, speech or whatever to everybody else. The same way in Jamaica, it was considered a long time ago before they embraced it, you know, like, you know, uneducated talk or whatever. It was the same thing if you're from this area of the South and shit, you know. And we're gonna explore other regions, you know, the Creoles and Louisiana and a lot of other shit too that I want to get into. But this is very fucking interesting and stuff. And like I said, you know, you could read their charter and go into and get a copy of the PDF and shit. I don't want to go into too long, make this video too long and shit. I was going to put both the Gullah and the Garifuna in one video to show the similarities of them, but I'll just drop another video probably very soon
on a Garifuna and show you how their stories is very similar, and you find a lot of these tribes all around the place. But let me know what you think and shit. Once again, it's Action News Network. You know, you can keep doing that native, that American Aboriginal spirit, keeping that pop and stuff. Shout out to Dane Calloway, everything he do. Shout out to Lex Will. Thanks for the inspiration for a lot of these videos, all y'all. And Aboriginal one, definitely thanks. And peace.